Hold onto your knees, lift and open the chest. So sometimes when you've not been up for very long, just that act of lifting and opening the chest kind of really brings the body to life a little. Lift the chest deeply. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Lengthen the neck up into the head. But just observe, do those actions make you grip? So soften from grip, because grip is the opposite of extension. Just breathe evenly and deeply listening to the breath. Listening to the inhalation and the exhalation. Look down at the floor, look at something that's not moving. Feel that you breathe into the bottom of the lungs, up into the top of the lungs. With the in-breath, and from the top of the lungs to the bottom of the lungs with the out-breath. And then bring the breath from a lower point, from the perineum. So the in-breath comes from the perineum up towards the collarbone, and from the collarbone down towards the perineum with the out-breath. So it's the apanic breath. Just take deep inhalations, deep exhalations. And then bring your hands into Namaste. Press the palms firmly together. Maintain that apanic breath, breathing from the perineum to the collarbone with the in-breath, and from the collarbone to the perineum with the out-breath. And with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. If you're not sure how to breathe from the perineum to the collarbone and the collarbone to the perineum, then just breathe normally. Just breathe with concentration, with focus on the breath. Otherwise, incorporating the apanic breath brings immediate calm and a sense of stability and groundedness. Just very gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude. Draw into your heart area something, someone, somewhere that brings an immediate feeling of abundance into your heart area. And hold on to that feeling of abundance as you release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And then as you raise up your head, allow your eyes to softly open. Just press the hands down onto the knees, palms facing upwards, and then lift the chest and just spend a little more time just breathing, just moving that apanic breath from the perineum to the collarbone, to the collarbone to the perineum. Just spending a little time dwelling on the positive abundance that you feel in the heart area from bringing gratitude to something. It's a great way to start the day, to just dwell on the positives in your life. Just to give yourself that feeling of abundance. And then hold on to the fronts of the knees, lift and open the chest. Take a good apanic inhalation. And with the exhalation, turn to the right. And then continue to turn with the apanic exhalation. Lifting with the apanic inhalation. Lifting with the inhalation, turning with the exhalation. And then come back to the center. Taking a apanic inhalation. And then turn to the left with the exhalation. Just using the subsequent inhalations to lift the chest more, use the subsequent exhalations to turn more deeply. And then come back to the center. Just come off your lift, come down onto your seat bones, onto your heels rather. Sit yourself down on your heels with the knees apart. So the big toes are together, the knees are apart. Just allow the legs to press deeply into the floor. Taking a apanic inhalation, lifting the chest. With each inhalation, lift the chest a little more. And then on an exhalation, on an apanic exhalation, come forward. Trying to keep the seat bones down in contact with the heels. maintaining that apanic breath as you extend your arms at 90%. So 90% is still a lot of focus and action. It's 100% focus, it's 90% action. So that you're not pushing to your absolute limit. You're pushing so that you extend. You're pushing with gentleness so that you can extend further. Never going to that point of gripping at 100% because it becomes a full stop on the action. Maintain the apanic breath, observing how it feels different in Adho Mukha Virasana. Feel how the armpits stretch with the extension of the arms. Just come up onto your knees, turn your toes under, have your feet as wide apart as the mat. And then with bent knees at first, come up into dog down. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Working again with the apanic breath. And then just once you have established yourself on the mat, then begin to straighten your legs. Just observe how this feels this morning. Just working with the apanic breath to bring relief into areas of resistance. Tadasana the legs by turning the thighs inwards, hitting the fronts of the thighs through to the backs of the thighs, hitting the kneecaps through to the back of the knee, activating the shins, turning them inwards, pushing the shins through to the calf muscles. Maintaining the apanic breath. And then step your feet forwards, just come up into standing position. Have the blocks for your hands, and then have your feet wide enough apart so that they're as wide apart as the mat. Have the hands, have the blocks for the hands, and then just come into Tadasana, but with the legs wide. So activate the shins, press the shins towards the back of the room, turn the shins inwards, turn the knee, press the kneecaps into the back of the knee, turn the inner knee towards the back of the room. Lift the thigh muscles, turn the thigh muscles inwards. And then push the inner knees away from each other, lifting the inner knees up towards the groin so that the insteps lift. And then have your hands on your hips, lift up into the chest. Taking a apanic inhalation and go down on the exhalation. Find the blocks underneath your hands. Continuing the apanic breath, just feeling the pose as you breathe. Extending the spine away from the legs, hitting the legs towards the wall behind you. Bring the blocks down a little lower if you can, or keep them high if you're protecting your back. Another cycle of apanic breath. If you can go down to the floor, then do, but keeping the apanic breath active, keeping the legs deeply engaged, keeping the spine deeply engaged. The end of the apanic breath is particularly good to find deeper extension. So as you get towards the end of the out breath, find more space to extend. If you can reach around your heels, then do. Otherwise, just stay where your back is safe. Finding extra space at the end of the out breath that you can lift and extend and activate. And in that deeper exhalative extension, maybe you find lightness. Come back into half uttanasana, just bringing the hands back onto the floor. And on an exhalation, walk your hands towards the end of the mat. Keep your legs straight if you can, or bend your knees if necessary. Bring your hands shoulder width apart, press the palms into the floor. Working with your apanic breath, step back, have your feet hip width apart, come back into dog down. Maintaining the apanic breath. Observing that the end of the apanic breath has more space to extend. There's extra charge at the end of the out breath. Okay, and then just step your feet forwards, come up into a standing position, and then come into Tadasana. Just observe the charge of the physical body. Continue the apanic breath, apanic inhalations, apanic exhalations, just listening to the sound of the breath. Feeling that direction of travel from the perineum at the kind of base of the spine all the way up to the collarbone, and from the collarbone down towards the perineum. Just be in Tadasana and working with that movement of breath. Spread into the fingertips, spread the palms, lift the chest. Bring your arms forwards and then raise your arms up for Urdhva. So the palms facing each other, the palms of the hands facing each other. Maintaining the apanic breath. And then release on the apanic exhalation. Palms facing outwards. And then bring your arms out nice and wide with an apanic inhalation. Bring your arms in towards the chest, and on an inhalation, step or jump the feet apart. Turn your left toes in, your right leg and foot all the way out. Just come back to the apanic breath and go down on an exhalation. Maintain that apanic breath. Observe that the end of the apanic breath gives you just space to extend a little more deeply, just to activate a little more deeply. You can just bring your head down to look at the floor. Turn the chest to face the ceiling. Sometimes it helps to look down when you're focusing on breath. Come back to the center. Swap the feet around, turn the right toes in, the left leg and foot all the way out. Taking a apanic inhalation and then go down on an exhalation. So looking up at first, but then look down. But keep the body extending up towards the ceiling. If I'm holding you too long in the pose, then just come out of the pose. If you can stay and maintain for a little longer, then do, but just observe how your energy feels and respond to that energy. And then exhalation, bend the front leg, bring the top hand down, the right hand down onto the floor, bring the left hand onto the outside of the foot, turn the back leg, and then step yourself back into dog down. Or come up first and then come back into dog down. And just observe your dog down, how suddenly it feels light. Maintaining the apanic breath. And then come down onto your knees, sit back on your heels. And then lift up into the chest, maintaining that apanic breath. So this week, in many ways, we have been focusing on pranayamic practices. So on Monday, we did, instead of a restorative session, we did Ujjayi Pranayama stages 1 to 4, just to bring some clarity to the mind. So that's on the recordings if you fancy doing that. Pranayama brings real energy. It fills the body with energy, irrigating the body with oxygen. And then just come off your knees and just sit down directly onto the mat. Have a belt where you can reach it. I'll do this forward facing. So have a belt where you can reach it, and then just sit yourself directly on the floor. Now, if you feel that sitting directly on the floor kind of really stops you from being able to lift your chest, if you're kind of really struggling, if you're like this and you're struggling to lift, then sit on a folded blanket. In fact, everyone have a folded blanket handy. Just sit directly on the floor to start off with, have the hands at the sides of the hips and lift up into the chest. Keep that apanic breath. So extending from the hips into the heels, extending evenly on both legs. From the hips up into the armpits. Work with the apanic breath. So you can have your feet hip width apart or together to start off with. And then release, and then everyone sit on a folded blanket, just so that you can kind of really feel the benefit of the blanket. So sit yourself on the blanket immediately, it's a little more comfortable, isn't it? But just roll over, move the buttock flesh back and out to the sides. Get your belt where you can reach it. This time have your feet together, so the big toes together at least. And then press the hands into the floor and then lift the chest, and then observe, is there any difference in the way that you can lift your spine? Go back to your apanic breath if you haven't done. So if you've got back problems, then it's often advisable to avoid forward bending, or at least see how your back feels, and just work with the sense of your own back. Be responsible for your own action and your own back. But avoid coming forwards if you have got a bad back. It's usually the best advice. Press the seat bones into the floor and then lift up into the chest. Press from the seat bones into the heels. Press the shins into the floor. Press the kneecaps towards the back of the knee. Press the thighs into the floor like someone's standing on them. Turning the thighs inwards as if you're doing Tadasana. Working with apanic breath. Feel how much you can lift the chest from sitting on the blanket. So if you know that you can't reach your toes, or if you're protecting your back, stay with the belt, and maybe you can kind of just inch yourself forwards just a little bit at a time. But each time you come forwards, really elevating the chest, the front chest upwards, drawing the back chest downwards. So that rather than coming forwards with a rounded back like this way, which is the way that you're going to damage your back, you keep the front chest lifted. So remaining with the apanic breath, if you know that you can reach your toes, raise your arms up. Taking the apanic inhalation, and then come forward on an exhalation. Reach around the outsides of the feet. If you can't reach the feet, go back to the belt and just inch yourself forwards. So just at this stage, just lift the chest with the apanic breath. Find space to come forwards with the exhalation. So just coming forwards just a little at a time, not being in any rush to kind of bring yourself down. So we're coming into paschimottanasana. Bending your elbows out to the side. If you can reach around your feet, then do. Working with the apanic breath. So forward bends like this are really good for the liver and the kidneys. Activate your legs, really press them firmly into the floor. So don't let the legs kind of just go idle. Keep the legs active. Maintaining that apanic breath, finding that space at the end of the apanic breath. And then come back to the center. Just observe that quietness that comes from coming out of a forward bend. Keep the seat bones where they are, keep sitting on the lift, and then get the left leg, the back of the left knee, and then bring the left leg so that the sole of the foot is in line with the thigh, and then bring that leg down. Now, if your leg is kind of floating up in the air a little, then just put a block underneath the head of the knee, just to give that knee some protection. Again, go back to the belt initially, because it's a good way just to kind of activate and charge the spine. So push from the hip into the heel, hold onto the belt, and elevate the chest upwards, maintaining your apanic breath. Push the bent leg foot into the floor. Squeeze the bent leg, buttock bone towards that foot, so that the hips feel level. Lengthen from the hips up into the armpits evenly on both sides. So again, problems with the back, just stay at this stage, or kind of just gently kind of creep the hands forwards towards the foot a little, keeping the spine lifted. If you can reach your foot, then raise your arms upwards. And on an apanic out breath, come forward. Reach around the foot. If you can reach beyond the foot, then do. Keep that bent leg foot pressing into the floor, squeezing the bent leg buttock bone forward so that the hips remain engaged in the pose. Maintaining that apanic breath, just coming forwards just a little at a time, not being in a rush to get into the head down onto the floor. Maintaining the apanic breath. So bending your elbows out to the sides when you're in contact with the leg. So keeping the legs active, keeping the spine active. Keeping the breath active. And then lift your head and come back to the center. Just straighten the left leg and then come back into dandasana. Again, just observing the quietness that comes from lifting out of a forward bend. Come back into dandasana. So dandasana is the seated equivalent of tadasana, the central standing pose. And then get the hand into the back of the right knee and then bring that right foot so that the sole of the foot is lined up with the inner edge of the straight leg thigh. Again, you can support that head of the knee if you need to. If the calf muscle is on the floor, it's really if your leg is up like this that it needs support. If your calf is on the floor, then generally that is much safer. But this, when you come forward, can be strong on your knee. So just have the leg grounded. But if you're unsure, then always put the block underneath the head of the knee. Lift and open the chest, turn the abdomen to face the straight leg. Activate this bent leg foot, pushing it into the floor, pushing the bent leg buttock bone towards that foot. Using the belt if you know that you can't reach or you don't want to come forward, or raising your arms up. And on an exhalation, an apanic exhalation, come forward. Taking hold of the foot. Turning the abdomen so the belly button is facing that straight leg. Lifting the chest, continuing with the apanic breath. So it doesn't matter if you don't come all the way down. Just the fact that you're acting within the first stage is plenty to engage the body and the mind, and to extend and to stretch. So it's always important to work with consciousness of your physical body. So if you avoid coming forwards, then that is absolutely fine. Just continue to find deep extension. Keep the apanic breath. Keep the straight leg tadasanalizing, turning the front of the leg inwards. Don't forget the apanic breath. Don't forget the end of the breath where there's deeper extension to be found. Okay, lift your head. Come back to the center, just straighten out the bent leg. And then lift up into the chest. And then bring the feet into Baddha for a moment. Just pulling the feet in towards the body, holding onto the big toes. Pressing the feet consciously into the floor. Trying to pull the feet up with the big toes. So press the feet into the floor like you're going to stand up. Lift up into the chest. Working with that apanic breath. Finding deeper extension at the end of the exhalation. And then just release and bring the legs into swastikasana, into cross legs. Just hold onto the knees, lift and open the chest, driving the spine upwards, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Take a good deep inhalation in through the nose. And with the apanic exhalation, turn to the right side. And then come back to the center. Just hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest with the in-breath, and then turn with the out-breath. Rotating the abdomen, the ribs and the shoulders. And then come back to the center. And then come down onto your back, and we're going to go into setubandha. So just have a brick for underneath your back. If you're not coming into setubandha, then you can go into setubandha. So setubandha is this sort of feet together, knees apart, resting down into the floor, but keeping that pose active. Otherwise, you're going to bring your feet in towards the seat bones. Lift the chest, have a block. You're going to lift the chest as high, lift the seat bones as high as you can, and then come right onto the tops of your shoulders. So you gather the shoulder blades together, and then you place the brick in the sacrum area of your back. Then hold onto the edges of the mat. Stay right on the tops of the shoulders, and then either just stay with bent knees, or you can extend one leg See how that feels. Extend the other. See how that feels, that there's no aggravation in your back. And then if that felt okay, then just stretch your legs out. So just breathing apanically. So it feels a bit weird upside down. Continue to breathe apanically. Just paying particular attention to the exhalation. And then just bend your knees. Just stay with the knees bent for a moment. Just take a few breaths. And then when you're ready, just come up onto the tiptoes and then lift the chest and adjust the shoulders as you come back down, drawing yourself back down onto the floor, and then pull your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, just easing out any kinks in the back. Just a little gentle massage on the spine. So as I said, I did a pranayama session on Monday, so you might want to do a bit of Ujjayi pranayama. So that's in the recorded section, and there's a new pranayama category that you can. So it's only got about 25 videos in it, but there's plenty there to kind of so that you can just practice pranayama. So you can find them in the recorded section of the website. Okay, just roll onto your side and then sit yourself up, and then get your blanket, your folded blanket from underneath your head. Just move your equipment out of the way so that you're going to be able to just stretch out without feeling constricted. And then lay yourself down in a good straight line. So fold your blanket evenly so it feels even underneath your head. And then just have your arms just out to the sides of the body a little. And then gently release. Just bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. So no longer focusing on apanic breath, just normal inhalations, normal exhalations. Observe how the body, if you let go of the body, feels light, as though it's full of air. Distribute that lightness evenly, using the in-breath and the out-breath to draw the lightness of your energy evenly down into the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, the top of the head. So you're just basking in that feeling of positive energy. And then gently wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers, just bringing yourself back into this pose of shavasana. And then bend your knees, draw your knees in towards your chest. And just have a little rock from top to bottom, from side to side. And then very gently roll over onto your right side to stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just a final cross legs with your hands in Namaste. Just a final spinal lift. Draw your breath in through your nose down into the abdomen, the samanic breath. Conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists and the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to observe your energy, to acknowledge that positive energy that is flowing inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you really lifted your energy from the inside, giving yourself lots of good positive energy to put into your day. Thank you very much for joining me.